Recording now.
Welcome in to Pay Dirt Sports. This is Will Dunn here with Nick Truschel and Seth Coggin. Pay Dirt Sports, part of the Six Pack Coverage Network. Guys, let's kick it off. Our very own Seth Coggin, Boss Cog, put his stamp on the ultra marathon game by completing the strolling gym out in Wartrace, Tennessee.
Beautiful Wartrace, Tennessee.
Just a good old easy 41 miles. Seth, tell us all about it. I mean, I don't even know what to ask you first, but just give us kind of the experience. Guys, I got to go out and actually see Seth and our good friend Benny, the boss man Batista. I got to see them finish, and it was just awesome experience, even just to be there at the very end. Seth, tell us all about it.
All right. Wow. Opening the show with it. Let's go. Truly a one-of-a-kind experience. So a few months ago, our friend Ben, now I've been running quite a bit. You know, I take it pretty seriously, but never have before been in a competitive race, you know, never done anything in that type of scenario. And he calls me up and he says, look, I'm running this race, or I want to run this ultra marathon. Like, it's in Nashville. It's around Nashville. It's in May. It's about 4 or 5 months out. So, you know, plenty of time to kind of wrap your head around it. And I wasn't his first call. I'll be honest. He called some other guys that were probably some better runners, stronger than I am, but I was the guy that said yes. I was the guy that said yes. So committed to an ultra marathon a while back. And to be honest, it has been hanging over my head. Like, no matter, even at night when it's like, oh man, might want some ice cream. It's like, you know, you're going to have to run an ultra marathon pretty soon. Like, you might want to hold back on that. Now, it didn't really stop me, because then the other, like, it's kind of like the two devils on your shoulder. It's like, well, yeah, but you need a lot of calories. You know, you're going to burn a ton of calories. So like, you need to fuel up. Anyway, just an insane experience. Race day was something unlike, you know, kind of I've ever felt, but at the same time, I don't want to say it was underwhelming, because it wasn't. Like, it was truly a great experience, but in a way, some of it was almost underwhelming. I had farthest I'd ever run in my life is about 22 miles. Never done a marathon. Like I said, never really been in a race. So I was truly up against, you know, kind of everything I was doing was first time for me. But I think we did a great job preparing. We trained pretty well. I probably could have trained, you know, you can always train theoretically a little bit more, but entered the race healthy. And that was kind of really the end goal, is to like not overtrain. Cause I've done that kind of in the past, where it's like, oh, I'm trying to do something big, I'm going to train super hard, and then kind of end up overtraining and hurting yourself. And especially when you're running, it's very easy to do, because that puts a lot of pressure on your joints and knees and everything. So we both got to the race healthy. Our nutrition plan was really good. I burned about almost 8,000 calories. So you have to be just replacing and replacing and replacing the entire race. Like, even if you're not necessarily hungry, your body needs the calories to like keep going. And I was very, very thankful to have the best crew in the world. My beautiful and amazing girlfriend, Christina, came out. She was our crew. So she crewed for me and Ben. And what that kind of involves is, she had a car full of snacks and gels and water and, you know, just all kinds of nutrition and supplements that we can't really carry along. You know, you can carry a little bit, whether it be in a pocket or, you know, or a jersey or something like that. But so she did a great job of, you know, being a few miles ahead of us, parking and just waiting till we got there and being ready for us. So just very blessed to have a team, a member kind of like that would go ahead. And pretty much, I mean, she traveled with me all weekend and took her whole Saturday to just kind of sit and wait around on us.
Nice.
And so that was very, and I mean, it made like stuff like that made it so much better and more likely that we could kind of succeed and have a good race. So Benny's a little bit stronger runner than I am, for sure. So we were kind of, even though we were a team, we weren't really sure how it was going to fold out, just logistics wise, like how long we would stay together. We knew we wanted to start together and kind of pace ourselves, because it's a long race. 41 miles is just daunting. Like, you're standing at mile 0 and it's like, oh my gosh, like I got 40 miles ahead of me. But there's a lot of excitement. A lot of other people are doing it too, which makes it seem more doable, if that makes sense. Like, if I just stood up on a random Saturday and said, yeah, I'm going to go run 40 miles, like I might could get it done, but it'd probably take me like 10, 12 hours just because at some point I'm just like, this is, dumb. But all those other people being around you and trying to complete the same task does make it pretty awesome. A lot of people have done it before. A lot of people are returning, and it's really an older sport, to be honest, which is kind of surprising me because seemingly running is like a brutal sport to me on my knees and ankles and whatnot. But a lot of people, 40s and 50s, 60s, even out there running. I think I was like the sixth youngest there was about 140 something people that ended up running the full 40-mile race, but they also had shorter races. So we started with, probably 350 people or more. So, quite a few people at the start line that all start out together and then eventually kind of break off. But the race actually went like surprisingly well. I was expecting to just like hunker down and suffer, like just kind of get a few miles in and just sit in the pain cave, just hibernate in the pain cave and just kind of block out everything. But, whether it be the pacing, the nutrition, kind of the race day, just extra boost you get, we made it quite a ways. Me and our friend Ben stayed together for the first about 27, 28 miles. Which was really positive for me because us being together gave us, someone to talk to. It's just a long time that you're out there on the course. So I finished in about 8.5 hours. And that was actually good. I was my true, like best performance. I wanted to do under 8, but realistically figured that wasn't a possibility. So just wanted to, first of all, make sure I finished, like truly, like even just getting to that finish line was the real goal. But then I was trying to go under 9 hours. And we did that pretty well with ease. So we stayed together for the first about, 5 hours or so, 27, 28 miles. But that's kind of when I hit the wall. That is when I hit the proverbial wall, like the pits and the depths of pain. And about 28 miles. So that's about 6 miles farther than I've ever run before. So I'm already in uncharted waters. Like I'm already, even though I was like really surprised at how good I was feeling at 22. I was like, wow, I'm feeling great for never having, been this far, or, for this is as far as I've ever been. But then, all of a sudden it kind of hits and it's like, oh goodness. I looked at my watch and it was 28 miles. And I was just like, wow, that's so far. That's farther than I've ever gone before. And I still have a half marathon to go. Like I have extended my limit. And I still have a half marathon to go. So luckily it's a very communal race. It's a very easy, like it was a little more walking than I was even prepared for. Like if you're not up for it, just walk a little bit, regain that strength. Pretty much all the hills, most people outside of the true top tier, most people walk, to conserve energy. Cause you're not, you're jogging at a fairly slow pace. And if you're jogging uphill, it's not that much faster than walking anyway. And your pace isn't really that important. It's more about kind of getting through it. So got to walk and kind of recover on the hills. Was really proud that, I ran most of the time other than kind of walking up the hills and recovering. So just very pleased with how my body responded. It's very fun to put your body in circumstances that it's not used to push it past the limits that you have perceived. So I haven't done too much crazy enduro stuff. But knowing that my body can respond to that and take that is awesome. It probably won't see me running a bunch more ultra marathons. Like that's just not kind of what I'm built for. It's not really, I don't know. It was fun, but a lot of people were kind of describing, they were like, oh, it's such a euphoria when you finish. Like, oh, you're going to be like, it's just, you can't describe it. And it's just unreal. And it's all this just wonderful, just euphoric feeling. Is kind of euphoria is truly what they said. And to be honest, I got to the finish line and I was like, just thanking God it was over, truly. Like, yeah, I'm glad I can say I did that, I guess, but man, I'm just really glad I'm done running today. Like, let's go get some. Me and Will was out there. I saw my dogs at the finish line, and and we got some Casa Fiesta. Shout out Antioch. Just rolling through, eating heavy. Now that was fun. See, that's an enjoyable, like, man, we really did just do something pretty crazy, like pretty big accomplishment. And then to just kind of throw down with the homies was really nice. I will say I was at my darkest point around 28, 29, still a lot of miles in front of me. And it came up to this rest stop, or, people had aid stations along the way. Certainly to kind of provide nutrition, water, all that kind of stuff. But this particular one was just someone out in their front lawn. They were grilling burgers and they had some stuff out on the table, but I saw just like something shined at me, and it was a Natty Light. And they were just had a few cold snacks out there for the racers. And I was in my darkest point, but threw down just a little bit, just something to wet the palate and just kind of keep the spirits up. Get a few carbs in me, get a little nutrition, a little something to wet the whistle. And I will say it kind of that was a good, and beyond, I mean, who cares about, half a beer? That didn't really matter. It was more just kind of like these people were out there having a really good time, and kind of being awesome hosts to the racers. Like I assume they lived in that house. So they were just out there grilling in their front lawn, throwing some nutrition. They had everything, all sorts of snacks. But yeah, it really pushed me to do those last about 12, 13 miles. You get really isolated. Like after about 30 miles, you're pretty alone, for most cases, just because people are so, spread out at that point. And so kind of dealing with that aloneness is interesting. I don't know. It would have been different if I was alone for all 40 miles. I'll say that. Like if I had to be solo, kind of in my own head for that long, you probably have to go to a little bit of a, deeper place in some ways. But overall, amazing experience. I'm an ultra marathoner now. So shout out. Like that's
all the dogs.
That's a check.
All the dogs.
Yeah, all the dogs
Donnie,
are up.
You did a half, right? Or was it 10? Or
yeah, it was a half.
Yeah,
there we go.
So
see,
half,
we got some absolute thoroughbreds out here.
We're definitely in the top 1%ers of podcasters as far as
a number. Yeah,
well,
long distance races goes.
Barstool with all the crazy, and we don't need to get into all that stuff, but all the craziness there. None of those guys are running a half marathon. Pay Dirt Sports. Go.
Pay Dirt Sports. These boys are working. That's kind of what it felt like at the end of the day. It was literally just like me and it was just like another Saturday of work. Like just kind of went out there, put a good 8 hours in, did my time. Pounded a little pavement, and just got a little good workout in the beautiful picturesque scene of Waverly and Wartrace, Tennessee. Just beautiful Tennessee countryside in early spring. We were blessed with beautiful, beautiful weather. Well, beautiful running weather, at least. Overcast and about 58 all day. Just picturesque day. Like if it was, I think it's like 90 today in Nashville. If it had been 90 that day, add an hour to my time just because you're just grinding that much harder. So very blessed with that. Very blessed that the legs held up. Shout out the body. Had great support. So we'll see what we do next. Ultra marathon probably ain't it. I'll be honest. Like I was just out there about hour 7, just like, this is really cool. I guess I kind of get why people do this. They're pretty psychotic, but like, I can't really say that because I'm right there with them running the same race. But we'll find some other way to push the body, make it back on the blades and do some even crazier endurance on the rollerblades. It's a little more enjoyable for me. So,
Yeah, Seth, before we get away from it, I do have a couple quick questions. So I'll just throw them both at you and you can kind of speak on them. But so talk a little bit about, because, you mentioned the farthest you ever ran was around, the early to mid 20-mile range, So what was that like? I mean, you kind of touched on it, but I mean, because I think about when I did, obviously you're running a lot more than I am running, but I was thinking about when I ran my half marathon, and I'm thinking like, I probably could have done like a couple more miles, but at a certain point, my body was going to would have given out. So talk a little bit about that. And then, if you have any, I was wondering if you were thinking about maybe doing an Ironman, or if you have any other maybe triathlon type stuff, what you might be thinking of as the next step or next challenge.
I'll speak on as far as the next kind of thing goes. It's a little too early for me to decide kind of what's next. I'm in a little bit of I literally just walked in the door. Like, I went straight to work this morning from traveling still. So like, I haven't even really sat down hardly at all since the race. So I'll take a few days off and really decide but it's bigger, that's all I can say. The next challenge is going to be bigger. Like, I'm still standing after that. So like, why not push it further? Like, find a way to push to truly go crazy. I truly want, I was thinking about this afternoon. I've said it before, but like, I want to make an attempt at the rollerblading world record for a day, for 24 hours. So a 24-hour rollerblade, the current world record is about 218 miles, which is a ton. So 218 miles is crazy. Now,
which let the listeners know that you have.
So I have before completed about 100 and officially 100 miles, but really it was more like 109 miles in a day, and about 12 hours of active time. So theoretically, and that was on an $100 pair of skates, with about the smallest wheels you can have, and still kind of complete some distance. So if I theoretically increased my training and had better equipment, we could be putting up some serious numbers. For some reason, my legs are like made for rollerblading. I don't know how to explain it, but like, my body's never adapted to a sport any more than they did. So we're kind of building that endurance with the legs right now. That's why, running is a great way to kind of cross train and just build that. Just 8 hours of active energy is like a crazy output of a consistent, output of energy. So that's kind of it. Go further. And maybe this year that kind of looks like Ironman's in the possibility. Completing an Ironman would be truly a huge, huge goal that I would at some point like to complete. Is it going to be quite ready this year? I'm not sure. Because it's a full marathon, 100+ miles on a bike, and a couple miles swim. So yeah, I had a big run, but throwing in 100+ miles on a bike is no small task. And I'm really not conditioned biking very well. I can hop on and, I can kind of just grit and grind it out. Shout out Tony Allen. Sure. Yes, but sir. It's
all mental.
It is. And that's kind of how you start answering that first question is, yes, this was almost double as far as I'd ever run. And that's kind of what got me in a crazy place, because even though, the farthest I've ever run is 22 miles, like, I've probably run a half marathon plus distance maybe 5 times in my, so it's not like I'm even putting in a ton of 18 mile, 19 mile, 20 mile, it's not like I'm really doing that. It's kind of like significant leaps of, and that's where the mentality, and that's truly where the mentality comes in, because, and it's just a testament to the human power that we do kind of have, that we don't always try to unlock. But to say, if I go out and I'm like, well, I'm going to run 6 miles today, I'm probably going to be pretty tired and ready to tap out at 6 miles. But if I literally say, hey, I'm going to go out and run 41 miles today, I'm going to go run, just a crazy long distance. Well, I ended up making that too. I was dead tired and ready to tap out at the end of it, but you're still able to make it. And that's not just me. I think that's truly speaks on all people. I truly believe all people kind of have that kind of power and energy inside themselves. We're a lot of times afraid to kind of tap it. We're afraid to kind of see how far we can go. So we don't really go maybe as far as we can. Because I'll be honest, I was nervous. I woke up and I was like, what if I can't do this? This is a lot farther than I've ever, what if my body gives out? I don't know how this is going to respond. But luckily I had a really good friend there supporting me and pushing me farther than I would have gone on my own. So that's why we kind of need each other. Iron sharpens iron, man. We need each other to push each other farther than we would dare kind of go on our own. It empowers us and everything. like that. But I was sitting there at 22, 23 miles, like, dang, like 18 miles. That's like the farthest I've ever run in a day. Now I got to do that on top of what I've ever done. Like, it is just daunting. But then again, you just kind of keep putting one foot in front of the other. Like, you just kind of put in a mile at a time, just stack them up. Whether it be, it's kind of a metaphor for life, whether it be days, hours, days of work, workouts, whatever it be, you just kind of stack them on top of each other. And eventually it adds up to where you want to go. And things could have gone worse. You could always hurt yourself in a scenario like that. Like, I was very blessed to really go off without a hitch, in order to kind of finish and be really proud and happy with the effort. But with that, I think the mentality part is just so massive. And just why we're kind of limiting ourselves when our mentality is not, truly great, like truly great goals. That's what, if that's not where our minds are, we're never going to reach it, So anyway, that's kind of a little bit about it. It is a testament. It's a testament of wills, of just kind of, are you strong enough to kind of keep going? Or are you dumb enough? I don't know. I don't know the people that really do that stuff all the time. I really don't know like, I was kind of doing it to support a friend and also prove to myself. That's another thing that I probably didn't really mention is running is a very, I grew up with asthma and didn't really know it. And running was very, very, very difficult for me, even when I was in very good shape, or, at least working out a ton. Like, even when I was working out every single day in high school, I could barely maybe run a mile. Like, it was very hard for me to run. And I was very slow and I couldn't breathe very well. And turns out that, a lot of that's due to some respiratory problems. So kind of got that cleared up, going into college and a little bit. And so running to me is a way to push myself truly beyond limits, what I thought I had. Like, if you told high school me that you're running an ultra marathon, I would have told you were insane, bro. Like, I can't go out there and jog a mile right now. But, so it is a testament of just mental fortitude. And that's kind of where our strength comes from. And that's what it's fun to surround. I mean, obviously our friend Ben's just an animal. Yeah. Like, I'm very thankful to surround myself, like, even, you guys as well, just like people that have mental, I know that aren't quitters. I know that like do have whatever pursuits it is, running is kind of a very visual way of kind of representing that kind of never quitting.
Though. Yeah. I feel like running an exercise to be successful is the baseline. If you stay consistent running and having that mentality that I can beat any challenge, that translates across to everything. So I think that's spot on. But why don't we take a little bit of look at some recent football news here? So you guys remember the Legion of Boom back in 2013, one of the most electric secondaries in all of college football, but
professional.
Oh, wait, did I just say college football?
Yeah.
Oh,
you're good. You're good. Keep it going.
But yes, professional football. So wanted to give a little update because that's one of my favorite things is those old players, how we grew up with, see where they are nowadays. And unfortunately, Legion of Boom has not been doing well. So
Legion of Gloom.
Starting off with Earl Thomas. I don't know if you saw the story where he planned on poisoning his children and his wife, and actually killing them. So he has completely lost it. He's on the run. Dude, I mean, it's crazy. And it makes you think about the CTE type of things that we see from Antonio Brown and Richard Sherman on the Legion of Boom when he had that episode of getting a DUI and beating down his ex-wife's door. And then I believe it was Brandon Browner is serving 8 years in prison for murder charges. So
how does that, was it like, why is it 8 years?
I think it was maybe manslaughter or something like that.
No, yeah. So how much? I mean, that's what Trusha, you mentioned it, but how much do you attribute that to? I mean, we obviously don't know the guys, but how much do you attribute this to guys truly being criminals or
Yeah,
like
well,
having a psychotic mind, or do you
no,
like how much do you attribute it to
well,
CTE? Like, how do you
Richard
separate?
Sherman's case, CTE. Dude went to Stanford, had a 3.5 GPA. I mean, he's a book smart guy for sure. Common sense. He can be a little bit of a diva and kind of that stuff. But I mean, I think CTA or CTE is a real thing and can drive you crazy and make you do things that obviously you would never do in your normal state. So it's kind of a sad topic to talk about a little bit, but definitely a very interesting story on has what happened to that. I mean, incredible team that ran the early 2000s, the best secondary in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Sad to see it play out that way.
It's interesting because that wasn't any of that the reputation while they were playing.
No, they
I
were all
don't. I
stand-up
mean,
guys.
yeah. So it's kind of almost dark to think about, like
Yeah.
kind of what, and especially with all the stuff about CTE and head traumas and how that affect, and then their notoriety of being the Legion of Boom, like we are the hardest hitting people, like we are flying around throwing our bodies, and for all of them, and they have very different issues. It seems like very different things are going on, certainly, but they do, each seem to be going through kind of different things and individual kind of struggles and whatnot, but it's almost too much of a coincidence that they would all be on that same kind of defense, in the exact almost the same position, in the same group, same kind of. But maybe that's, I don't know. It gets into a very deep like psychological breakdown, and I don't know these people, and so it's very hard for me to speak. It's very sad. Really, the end of the day, it's just very sad. For this to happen in any circumstance, whether it be Joe Schmo, out in War Trace, Tennessee, or whether it be, the Legion of Boom, who's these, well-known, notoriable people, and to have these kind of sad, I mean, Earl Thomas, I mean, on the run for a plan to poison and kill his family, like that is not normal, on the right path behavior, obviously. So very sad, and you hate that it kind of looms over something that was such a stronghold, such a very like positive, like I would say we probably all have positive memories looking back on like when the Legion of Boom was rocking.
Oh yeah.
And like, but now it just kind of
Don't
casts a
put
very dark
sorry ass
cloud.
receiver like Crabtree on me. I mean, some of the most iconic moments in football came from those teams, and obviously the decision to not give it to Marshawn Lynch, and I mean those are some crazy memories that we had growing up. So it kind of sucks to see that some of these kind of old favorite players just be dealing with mental health issues. And I think that's definitely something the NFL needs to work on and kind of put a focus on, because I mean, we forget these guys are humans too. They go through their own problems, and so could open up to maybe some extra programs and kind of helping out there.
I think that's probably what the next step is, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I know you do have to kind of look at what the argument is for both sides too, because someone might come in and say, okay, well, yeah, we can blame this on CTE, but what if also you have like some like-minded guys who just had like really bad tendencies for other reasons? And
no,
so,
100%.
and personally, I don't think that's the case. I think it is like there is kind of too much of a coincidence. And we talked about, I mean, some of the guys like education and that, which doesn't really necessarily matter. But at the same time, I mean, some of this behavior is so just wild that I do feel like it's probably attributed to CTE. And I think, yeah, Truth, you said it. The next step has got to be the NFL doing some sort of, I don't know what the program would entail, but some sort of maybe they do something similar to what people do with PTSD for guys who are in the army or something. Like I don't know what the next step would be, but you do need some kind of program definitely for these guys, especially when they retire from the league, especially guys who were in the league for so long and just took hit after hit after hit, or
Brian
gave hit
Cushing
after hit.
and Ray Lewis and like some of those old school linebackers and running backs too. I mean, and
receivers coming across the
receivers,
middle.
coming across the middle. I mean, you take a shot from Vontaze Burfict straight to the dome. I mean,
scrambles,
and then Ryan Shazier, unfortunately, could not even walk, taking a dirty hit. I mean, it's
it's a dangerous, violent game. I mean, that is what you sign up for.
That's why we come to the Coliseum, bro.
Yeah,
like not to put it like mildly.
No, you're right.
That is what draws us. Like we like watching gladiators go out there and just try to demolish each other. And we want our strong team to just pummel the other strong team. And that's unfortunately kind of that is a very tangible negative side effect of wanting people to just knock people's heads off, is that, there may be possible brain problems. And that's kind of the scariest, because it's an unknown. Like, I know I could tear an ACL. I know I could, break my arm, stuff like that. But the kind of invisible injuries that may linger is it's a very tangible and real. In an own personal, like, I look at I still have my football helmet from high school, bro. Like, not the same level of athlete, obviously. Different speed of the game. But I look at all the marks and the like scratches and dents on my helmet, and I'm conscious of like, wow, that's a lot of hits to my head. Like, even if maybe one's not that influential, like time and time and time again. And these guys have spent even way more years. I was maybe a year or two of that serious high level kind of impact. But these guys have spent, 4 years of high school, 3 years of college plus, and then, 8+ years playing in the NFL, where you're just playing at such a high speed and high level and just taking hit after hit. And they are the Legion of Boom. You kind of said it, like it was a similarly kind of like-minded person that kind of was that they tried to put in that group.
You were a dog.
Yeah. And also, and I've heard people talk about this before, and I tend to understand and kind of agree. It's like, when you're put in that position, like, you are paid a lot of money to be a killer, like on the field, but you're supposed to channel that energy always on the field. But I think maybe sometimes when guys get out of the game is when they really start struggling, because you've at least always had this kind of
an
outlet. Yeah. And it was like, no, it's cool for you to be the hardest dude out here, like hitting people, just like trying to knock people's heads off. Like, that is your job, is to be the Legion of Boom. Like, you are trying to just level people and hurt them. You are trying to knock people out. And then all of a sudden, you're out of football, and it's just a whole different, feelings and anxiety. Like, people, no matter how much money, no matter how much success you have, you deal with mental health issues. Like, you are still dealing with,
they're humans. I mean,
yes, they become even almost more human once they're not in the NFL, and it's just, there's no outlet for this, and all of a sudden they've been paid and applauded for this just almost dangerous like crazy energy that they have, that they're able to put on this football field that we kind of glorify. But then they get out of that, and it's like, well, all of a sudden, no one wants any of, I don't know. And then you combine,
you got to turn it off, but psychologically you've been trained that it's a good thing for the last 30, 40 years, if you go back to all the way when you were a kid playing,
Yeah.
And I remember hearing Dana White talk about this as far as UFC fighters, because, obviously there are people out there who think the UFC is totally barbaric and all this stuff. And these guys are, just violent guys. They don't like have anger problems or all this stuff. And Dana White comes back and is like, do you realize these guys, if they weren't in here, like being in some regulated fight, they would probably be out on the streets just like being criminals.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's not
Well,
I guess that's not the best
Kimbo
excuse or anything,
Slice.
but it's like, dude, some guys need an outlet. Like you have all this, whatever you dealt with growing up or whatever's kind of you're dealing with, people need an outlet.
Yeah.
And, when you get this opportunity to be violent and channel all that anger in on something and be able to get it out in
Yeah,
a
like
way
Greg
that is
Hardy,
allowed,
when he transferred to the UFC after beating up his wife and doing all that, like crazy things can happen.
Yeah. And then then you have to figure it out though, at a certain point. What do you do when that's done? Like, where do you find a channel that? And, what do you do? Do you take a painting class? Like, does that satisfy you? What can like, I don't know.
You need to go to the therapist.
Probably. I mean, you got to talk to someone or
talk to somebody.
Find some
or professional
hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, sad stuff. We don't need to get too into the sadness here. I know we're running a little bit short on time here, so why don't we move on to the next segment, if that is cool. So what do we have next up here today?
You want to talk a little Grizz, a little NBA?
Yeah. Oh yeah, perfect. I stole the words right out of my mouth. So John Morant obviously injured. There's been a lot of back and forth on exactly how it happened. The Klay Johnson jump shot where he banged his knee against that. Jordan Poole twisting the knee. I think it was kind of a lot of just kind of combined wear and tear and a couple of dirty plays, honestly, that could end up costing the Grizzlies a series.
Yeah, if you saw it, what'd you think about the Poole play?
I mean, I don't know why you would take a dude's knee, put your hand on his back, and try and.
Right. I mean, it was when you see it in full speed or full time, it does look
a little bit.
It's almost
better.
like you could defend it. You could say, I could see where he's grabbing for the ball, but it is like he grabs onto that knee. And I was thinking, because I was thinking someone's going to argue this with me, and I've didn't play basketball at the highest level or anything, but I've played a lot of basketball and I've seen a lot of basketball games, and I've never seen that situation where a guy truly just like grabs onto a guy's knee and pulls it.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. I'd actually fallen asleep before the end of this game. Turned it off in the third quarter. I think what night was that?
I want to say Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah, I was pretty toasted after Saturday. But I'm now just watching it and it seems unnecessary. Don't know if that was really the play that hurt Ja's knee, but definitely I really probably think the play that hurt it was when he did knock knees, kind of like knock legs with I think it was Clay. Was it Clay? But then
he went off the court right after that.
They might have kind of known he was favoring it. And then like, if he's favoring it and then you pull something like that, that is pretty low down. And it just brings me back to my take on Steve Kerr, which just annoys the absolute mess out of me, is that he whines and complains the other night about the Grizzlies being dirty, like essentially applying that we're entirely a dirty team and that's the only way we win. That's really what I gathered. As a Memphis fan, I'm probably overreacting a little bit, like to the true tone and everything of his voice or, his comments. But that's really what it sounded like. He was just like, oh, this is a dirty series. Like they're trying. And yeah, Dylan Brooks made a really hard foul. And unfortunately, the guy got hurt. If a guy doesn't get hurt, it's probably not that big a deal, just a hard foul. But, he did get hurt. And and because it was an overly aggressive play and he got hurt, then it does make it a little bit dirty. But not saying it was like the most atrocious thing ever. But then you got Draymond Green, who is possibly one of the dirtiest players in the history of the NBA. Like if you went down truly the list and if you looked at all of the like borderline dirty plays, like Draymond's list is miles long. Like the other night, him pulling someone down by the jersey is way less of a basketball play in my eyes than, a guy swinging at a guy going up for a layup. Unfortunately, he missed and hit him in the head. But it's really sucks that Ja's got to be out because He is just a game changer. The way he closed the game out the other night with 15 points, 15 of the last Grizzlies points, to just dominate and take over the fourth quarter. That's what you're missing without him in. It won't even take, it might a minor miracle maybe, but the Grizzlies could still pull it out tonight. They've played a lot of the season enough of the season without Ja and had plenty of success. They have a lot of playmakers. They just got to play probably the best they've played. But who's saying they can't? This probably won't come out till after the game. So I'm saying a really strong defensive performance, because I think Ja being out actually probably helps us on defense. The Warriors attack Ja pretty good when he's in the game. So I'm saying 103 Grizz, 97 Warriors. I'm saying we steal the road dub. We even the series at 2-2. We take it back to the M. Got to win 2 out of 3 in the M. Even if we lose tonight, this series is far from over, I feel like, because we're winning game 5 in the M regardless. Like, that's just happening. So whether we win tonight or don't, we'll be going back to Golden State. So I'm saying Grizzlies win by 6 tonight. Let's go.
Bold. I like it.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Trushel, give me the updates on what are the other series looking like?
So
Mavs are tied 2-2 with the Suns.
I was about to say Mavs tied 2-2 with the Suns. I'm going to go ahead and get the
a little surprising there.
Up here. Well,
they both just held home court.
I mean, Luka is playing out of his mind right now. Like, I feel like he has not been getting enough credit on how much defensively. So he's actually in the top 5 in the entire league in defensive rating this year, in which he used to be a horrible defender.
High ability.
So he's completely flipped the script there. So I think that really has, So, I mean, shooting 28 or scoring 28, 46% from the field, 35.3, 9 boards and 9 assists with a steal and a half to go along with it. I mean, he's been putting up absolute numbers in the postseason.
Like highest average ever, right?
Yeah.
In his first or playoff average over. I mean, he's had enough games.
So, I mean, he's the truth. And he's developed his defensive game so much that I think he could turn into almost a slightly better Dirk Nowitzki by the end of his career.
It's just he is a different Dirk Nowitzki because he's
more
of a point guard. He's gonna have more of a stat stuffer.
I mean, his fadeaway jump shot literally looks exactly like Dirk's.
It is pretty. Isn't it crazy that Dallas went from Euro superstar to Euro superstar?
Yeah. Like
literally just didn't even bridge the gap. They went from one European legend to the next, just back to back in Dallas. It's awesome. They probably got to be the favorite team over there in like Eastern Europe by far.
Oh yeah. No, they definitely are.
What are we looking like in the East? They both seem fairly close. I don't know exactly.
Yeah,
2-2 in Philly. I know that Philly, Miami's 2-2.
Yeah, James Harden. Oh my God, he played lights out, dude. He's finally starting to hit his stride.
Hey, it won't matter in game 6 and 7. I'll be honest. Game 4, that's about right for James Harden to have a great game.
Yeah, and then he's gonna have 2 ducks in a row.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm throwing some shade at the guy for no reason. I got no problems with guys catching a bag,
but so we don't have too much time here left. We could talk about the Preds really quickly.
Real quickly. They stink. The championship window is closed.
Injuries.
They're kind of garbage. And Sarah's going down right before
Ingram
the playoffs.
played well. I was at the game on Saturday. I got the opportunity to go see him. But yeah, the
Avs are strong too.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Avs goal this year, it was Stanley Cup or bust for them. This Preds team really weren't a lot of expectations as far as this year's Preds teams goes. Especially after the first game, everyone was like, oh, this team's going to suck. And then they kind of went on a little run. Then they went on a little down slope. It was just kind of inconsistent the whole year. Happy to get in the playoffs. What sucks is Calgary's over here, who you could have played had you not choked away the game against Arizona. And I think they're sitting down 2-1 right now to Dallas. Yeah. So you look at this whole other side of the coin, and it sucks because maybe you could have given them a run in the series, maybe won that series, and then by that time Saros comes back. So you kind of screwed yourself in that it comes back to that Arizona game.
Yeah. And weren't they up, or were they up 4-1?
4-0. I think they're up 4-0.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that you earned that L. You earned this fat series L. Swept in the first round of the playoffs. The Preds got really hot right there for a second, but I don't know. Something changed in the organization. There was a vibe shift in the we were winners there, just gritty winners for a while. And then we became pompous losers. That's what I think of it's I don't know. We think of ourselves pretty highly, but we still haven't won anything. And then it just got, I don't know. It got too corporate there in Nashville. They priced out the real hardworking fan, and also college kid myself, who used to just go down and scalp $5-10 tickets right at puck drop and get rowdy. Those were the people that were in there to just make noise and go crazy. Now they just, I don't know, the environment that Smashville was unreal, unrivaled. People just were dying to be part of it. And then I don't know, I feel like they kind of lost the edge as a franchise, which is kind of unfortunate. But maybe that's just because I'm not living in the city anymore. But I almost feel it more living outside of the city, not living in Predsville. I get a broader view of how the trajectory of the franchise is going. So yeah. I don't know. It's very disappointing because playoff hockey is so fun. It so really fun when they make a deep run. I mean, it's unreal to just be on the edge of your seat. But then they don't have it this year. That's for sure.
No. And I mean, Saros getting hurt, but a lot of people have. Oh, and actually talking about real quick, a little bit of a side tangent, but still involved with the Predators. Barry Trotz got fired from the Islanders.
Bring him home.
What
honestly?
He's won a cup, man.
Yeah, he's got a cup.
Yeah. So
that would be sick. I'd bring it back.
I wouldn't hate
That's what we need. That is exactly what we need.
Second shot.
Yeah. I don't know if Hines is even necessarily the problem. I think honestly, talent. I'm probably not the best person to talk about all the upper management in the NHL, but I think maybe time for a new guy at the GM spot instead of Poyle. I feel like he's been so up and down in his career there.
He was kind of really heralded there at first, and then
I think he kind of struck gold. And then I don't know if he's actually made any awesome moves that you can say, oh, Poyle really killed this. I think there was a point where we drafted really well there for a while, got a couple big names every now and then, but I don't know. I think maybe it's just time to start fresh, honestly. Maybe start over at a few positions. You decided to get rid of some key players at times already. So I don't know. I don't know what the move is, but the Preds aren't contending for anything in my mind or in my eyes for the next few years. So maybe it's time to make some big moves.
Shake it up. It's we're not going the right direction. That's what it is. It's yeah, we made the playoffs. We used to be happy making the playoffs, but we've seen the potential that this, city and the team can put out there on the ice, and we're going the wrong direction. So maybe, a true change, a true leadership is the answer.
Yeah,
maybe not. I don't know. I mean, he has crafted some really good rosters and put together a really good product on the ice in Nashville.
I do what you said though, Seth. I want a different identity. I want the old the Preds don't have the grit anymore. No. I haven't seen that since that team that made the run. After that, it was kind of a complacent, almost an entitlement probably with some of the guys. I just don't feel it anymore like I used to. Yeah. Bring the black and blue jerseys back. That's what I need.
That's right.
No, I believe that.
Trisha, you want to close us out with a little baseball minute?
Yeah. So unfortunately, Vols lost their first series against Kentucky. But it was muggy, rainy, nasty, And at the end of the season, one team did jump us, Oregon State, in one poll, but Tennessee is pretty much across the board still number one. And I think this is the time right before you get into the regionals, right before you get into the playoffs, SEC tournament, all this stuff. If you drop a couple of games, we're in incredible shape. I'm not worried about anything. So, yeah, I mean, that's really all I got about college baseball. I think
Hogs won at Auburn.
Yeah, they did.
So a big series win on the road versus RPI, like number 4.
Yeah, and they were
very needed, very much needed.
They're making some kind of headway on Tennessee right now.
I mean, we're not going to come back on the SEC. Most likely,
I'm pretty sure it's
still possible. I think we're about stymied though. To be honest, there's only 2 series left. But so yeah, I mean,
sweep and then Tennessee collapse and
Tennessee's pretty much. I mean, even if they went 0-6 to end the year, they're probably honestly still close to a national seed, and they're not going to do that. So they're all but locked up to be a national seed. If Arkansas finishes out strong, wins the West, it'd be hard for me to imagine they're not a national seed as well. So that's right where you need to be, man. Just keep putting yourself in position to be in position. And baseball's a crazy tournament. It's even crazier once you get to Omaha. It's like simultaneously more chaotic once the final 8 teams get there somehow. But you just got to get to Omaha and let the real tournament begin.
Yeah.
And so, it's selfishly, I was almost like a little seeing Tennessee lose a series was like, Arkansas won all 10 series last year. Winning 10 straight SEC series is crazy. And it's even almost a more testament to how crazy it is because you have a team as dominant as Tennessee and they still dropped one on the road, which is like, no, absolutely no problem. Like, doesn't take anything out of play for Tennessee other than, you didn't win every single SEC series, but it won't really matter once you're on top of the East. Once you win the conference outright, like doesn't really, who cares that you lost a weekend series on the road? Mm-hmm. Probably, like you said, really good time for it to happen.
Yeah.
A good time to kind of regroup. Like, hey, look, guys, we're not invincible. Like,
yeah,
but we're still good we're still lights out team. Like, let's just go be that team that's dominant. So still.
Yeah. And I mean, Luke Lipsius was getting the boys fired up. And he said was basically, we were coming in too cocky. And it's nice to get, not nice, but
it's a little humble.
It's lighting a fire under their ass, for sure, from what I've heard. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's ever good to lose necessarily, but when you're talking about a sport like baseball where you do have 50 games to play with,
if a pitcher gets hot, you lose the game. So
I just mean like in a sport like this where it truly is like, hey, it's okay that you lost one. It doesn't really change anything in the grand scheme of things. I don't mind it because you get a little extra motivation going into the postseason. Good for y'all. Do y'all know kind of the dates? Like is the SEC tourney coming up next week or the week after?
So it's we got 2 more weekend series.
Okay.
And then the SC tournament. So it's 3 weekends away. And then the tournament gets started about a month from today. So, or a month from probably actually, like Thursday or something. But we're super close to getting the dance started, and that's when the fun starts. I can't wait. I will hopefully be attending at least a game or 2 of the regional. That'll be fun for me. Postseason baseball, I mean, bomb is just next level in the postseason. Like,
oh yeah,
it is. I was fortunate to go to a full super regional series one year. So I went to all 3 games of it when I was a student, and we hosted. And it was just the best atmosphere maybe I've ever kind of had at a sporting event, just in terms of how enjoyable it was. I set up way in left field, I had my cooler, I brought some snacks, and just hung out on a hot summer day watching my team clinch going to Omaha. Pretty awesome. So looking forward to some of that vibes, hopefully from the Hogs and the Vols soon. So anyway.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Well, I think I'm going to close it out. We'll see what Trucial's up to. But, guys, thanks again for listening. This has been Pay Dirt Sports, part of the Six Pack Coverage
client
Network.
Dinner coming up here, so had to make a
LP.
quick, little LP. The old Titan Stadium. If any of our listeners are not aware of that,
True day ones.
Yeah, I'm assuming most of y'all know and remember and love LP Field, but I work for LP, so got to take a couple of sales reps out tonight, show them a good time, and so I'm bouncing out of here a little bit earlier than we normally do. But is there anything else you guys want to get down before I head out of here?
Nah, I'll go ahead and close it out.
Perfect.
Be sure to play the podcast for them. Tell them to become and subscribe.
Oh no, dude! I've gotten a lot of guys in my company fired up about it. So
heck yeah, that's awesome. I talked to some guys.
Let's get LP on board
weekend too.
All right, boys. I'm getting a call.
LP Dirt Sports. LP Dirt Sports.
Here, yeah. Trucial can't hear me. I'm gonna try and close it out, and we'll just see what he does when he comes back on. But guys, thanks again for listening. This has been Pay Dirt Sports, part of the Six Pack Coverage Network. Be sure to check them out. sixpackcoverage.com, Instagram, Twitter at Six Pack Coverage. Check us out on Twitter at Paydirt_sports, Instagram at Paydirt Sports, and check out the website, paydirtsports.blog. Guys, thanks again for listening. We will see y'all next week.
Whoop that trick. Whoop that trick.
Now we just got to see if Trucial comes back on so he can close it out for us.
Yeah, what's he up to?
I don't know. I was trying to let him know. I just needed him to close it out for us.
Yeah, we can just be on here forever.
Yeah.
There he is.
We closed it out, Trucial.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you for all the Pay Dirt listeners. Always a pleasure hearing from you guys. We are going to be working on some more fan profiles and bringing on some more guests, informed guests that kind of have a little bit more insight than we do. So be on the lookout for some of that cool content coming up. But yeah, were you able to give out the whole closing or everything there?
I got it.
That was a little bonus. That was a little PS.
Yeah, the YouTube watchers will get the little bonus. We'll throw that in there on the YouTube.
Perfect. All right, everybody.
Cheers, boys.
Pleasure. Pay Dirt out.
Pay Dirt out.
Peace.